Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with the Last Huntsman channel here, and I got another knife that I'm actually pretty excited to test and review here today, and that is the Exodus Knife and Tools Jackalope, produced by White River Knives, or also known as the Exodus 4. I've tested this knife 3 to 4 years ago, the original prototype, and it's really neat to see that this knife has actually come to full fruition. But I will say the White River Knives version of it is definitely much more refined. Let's check this knife out. All right, so here I have the Exodus 4 by White River Knives and Exodus Knife and Tool, or also known as the Jackalope. Now, I tested back in the day the prototypes of both the Jackalope and the Bushcraft, and while I liked them both, the Jackalope actually really kind of stood out to me. I liked it. It has a really thin handle compared to most knives, but however, when you just grip it just right, it's very comfortable. It's very fine finesse. It has roughly about a 4-inch blade. I think it's technically like 3.8, but right there around 4. And coming from White River Knives, the quality, fit, and finish is actually just amazing. It's made out of S35 VN steel. It's 1/8 inch thick, and it comes with a Kydex sheath. And of course, if you've ever had a White River knife, you know you can't hardly mention White River Knives without mentioning the wood box that they come in, which is really cool. I'll kind of throw in some overlay with that. But super stoked about this knife. All right, so I'm going to do some comparative options here, and I do this just so you guys can kind of get a grasp for the size and overall scope of the knife. But here I have the classic tried and true SE4, so it's roughly about the same size as the SE4 with about half the width overall. So, you know, kind of gives you a little bit of perspective here on the sizing of it. I'll throw in a couple other comparisons. Here I also have the White River Knives FC4, and both of these knives, as you can see, are very similar in size. It's just this one's kind of a little meat cleaver version. And then of course I got the ever famous Reef F4, which it's considerably chunkier. So there's just a few comparative options just so you could kind of have grasp on the size and scale of the Exodus 4, aka the Jackalope. All right, so with the Exodus 4 Jackalope, I'm gonna go ahead and do some batoning. This is a small knife. It's not gonna do anything huge by no means, but for your basic wood processing stuff and little limbs, it's gonna pop right through it. And I'm actually pretty surprised. It's full flat grind. That's just popping right through that cedar pretty good. All right, so I have the Exodus 4. I'm gonna try to do some feather sticks here. Now with this thin, narrow little blade, you could actually be pretty fine and precise with it. And White River Knives S35 VN is super awesome. They come just stupid sharp out of the box. I've never really been much of a stainless guy, but White River Knives with their S35 VN has kind of given me a little bit of a change of perspective on stainless steel. I think I'll always be a carbon steel guy overall, but certain knives, especially small knives like of this size, I think are well suited in a good stainless. But I could actually get some really decent feather sticks with. All right, so something else to kind of consider with the Exodus knife and tool, Jackalope, Exodus 4, whichever one you want to call it. It kind of has two different names. The White River Knives branding of it is the Exodus 4. Jacob Peterson, who designed the knife, great guy actually, good Christian guy, he calls it the Jackalope. But something to consider is this knife actually has a lot of different variants that you can get, which is pretty awesome. You could kind of pick your flavor. This one is a very basic one, just satin finish, black micarta handles, which actually feels really good, and hand has some decent texturing to it. Now, some of them I've seen are high-vis ones where they have like a high-vis kind of colored handle, high-vis colored blade. I've seen some low-vis models with kind of like a OD green blade and tan micarta scales with even like a green sheath. This one's kind of one of the more basic ones. All right, so with the Jackalope, I'm going to try to get a fire going here. There we go. Cooking good. All right, so while I have the Exodus 4 Jackalope out here, I'm gonna also throw out a plug here. Be sure to check out Exodus Knife and Tool. It's run and owned by Jacob Peterson, the designer of the Exodus 4 Jackalope, and super awesome company, super awesome knives. He also runs Beach and Tactical, which makes some of the best rifle slings I've ever used. And so just kind of be sure to go check out Exodus Knife and Tools. He has some pretty different neat variants of the same knife if you're looking for one of these. All right, so another task I'm going to try is this knife is just asking to be really good slicey knife with that just full flat grind, 1/8 inch thick. And as you can see, this thing can really just go to work. And like I mentioned earlier, it has a very narrow handle. However, just the ergonomics of it, and if you just kind of do that like kind of finger grip, almost like a handshake grip, it actually is very comfortable in hand. Now, what would I personally use this knife for? Me personally, I would use it as a fixed blade pocket knife. So if I was gonna carry this knife on a regular basis, I would switch out to an ulti clip and then just fit it in my pocket like I've done on one of my shorts before. And this would just basically replace my pocket knife, and I wouldn't even really mess with a folder. This knife is just meant to be a day-to-day use, everyday work tool, and that's where it really excels at. And I'm glad he chose a full flat grind. It really complements this knife really well. All right, so the Jackalope is just really asking to be used for some bushcrafty type of task. So I'm gonna craft some bushes and make a couple notches here. There we go. Great little square notch there. Let's try to make another. Great little notch there for your tent stakes as well. So yeah, this actually performs really great for this fine little whittling type of stuff, which is really what this knife is going to excel at. I also highly speculate that it would be a great food processing knife as well. All right, so another task I'm going to try is the Jackalope here is such a small knife. It's never going to really chop per se. It has no weight, no mass to it. However, I am going to try to fell just a small little sapling using kind of the batoning method here. So let's give it a try. There we go. Batoned through a little sapling here using the Jackalope from Exodus Knife and Tool. All right, so with the Jackalope or Exodus 4 here, I'm gonna make a quick little statement. This is not a tactical knife. It's not really ever geared towards that. It's never really gonna be meant for that. It has next to no guard. So, however, any tool can be used for self-defense if you have to. So if I was going to use this or had to use this, how I would probably use it would be to grip it underhanded and put my thumb there to try to ensure that my hand don't slide forward. And essentially use it kind of underhanded for slices and stabs, like a prison shank basically. So the Jackalope can definitely be a decent little prison shank tool, and actually can stab pretty good for that use. Well, my friends, I'm going to wrap up my video on the Exodus Knife and Tools Exodus 4, or also known as the Jackalope. My overall thoughts and impressions: I really liked the prototype, and I'm gonna say this, the White River Knives produced version of it is even better. So if you're wanting something for like a really super slim, just EDC belt or pocket knife, this is an awesome choice. And one of the things that really first drew me to White River Knives was having just like a small stainless steel fixed blade to carry for like gym short carry or swim shorts when I'm like out kayaking or something like that. And this would make a perfect knife for that. This would also make a good little food processing knife, fish, game. I'm willing to bet that this knife will do all of that very well with that fine, slicey little blade. If you're going to pick one of these up, be sure to check out Exodus Knife and Tool. he has some pretty good deals there, and also he has some different variants and models of this knife. So with all that being said, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless and carry on.